All right. So today I want us to collectively build a nurture auto track for sync for those clients that are 3 to 6 months out. Now, sync, we don't use the same vernacular like we used to use in Boomtown, but in your mind, you should always have an idea if someone is hot. Obviously, that's pre approved. We're in the car looking, right? Next 30 days, we plan on making a decision, something like that, 30 to 90 at least. Then you've got nurture, which are 3 to 6 months out, not quite ready. Some things need to fall in place, but they have a goal, they have a time frame, they're working towards it, right? You've had conversations, maybe you've done the strategy session with them. And then you've got the people beyond that 6 months or whatever who are more of a watch, 6 months to a year plus. We want to stay in touch with them, but we're not touching them every month or necessarily anything like that. So that sweet spot in the middle is really what we don't have an auto track for right now and what I want us to prioritize next. Because you don't need an auto track for your hot people. You're already talking to them, right? You don't need something to create reminders for your hot people. If they're truly hot, then you should be following up with them on your own, or they're reaching out to you because you're sending them properties and they're like, hey, I want to see this one. Obviously, we have the qualify or the new lead auto track, right, for people who are logging on to the system, registering from an online ad or something like that. Those are the touches that we're pinging them once a day by phone, by email, and by text for 9 days to try to get a response, right? The stuff to engage with them and get them to talking. So, what we need next is for those people kind of in the middle um, that we've talked to, that we've engaged, but that we haven't really gotten to that point with them yet. So we're looking at that. Okay, I need to stay in touch with them, but I don't need to talk to them every week, right? So maybe once a month in some cases, maybe twice a month in some cases. So I've talked to several of you individually in our one-on-ones about, kind of coming prepared with some ideas for an auto track for a nurture for folks in this time frame. So wanted to kind of just ask who's ready to talk about that, and then let's just start kind of putting it together and then arrange it. Who's got some initial thoughts that they want to share with the group?
Well, I I wanted to think about it more, but I had some showings to do yesterday. But I did think about timing, like the frequency, and I think up front, definitely two, maybe three times in that first initial contact to kind of cement the relationship. And then the next month, maybe just the once. And then as you get closer, you need to, I guess you want to make sure that the pre-approval and all that set up, if they're going that route, is at the correct time. And so I guess that would be probably a couple of phone calls to get it, I guess, 2 months from the purchase date, you need that ish lined up to really get out there and get going. But no, I wanted to get started on one, but that's as far as I've gotten on thought.
Well, I think too, I wanted to add this to my entire database, but not have it be a salesy too is kind of my thinking. Like, I really want to, like, maybe every 7 to 10 days send out an email. This is and we're brainstorming, right? So this is just, about a local business of the week in the area that they're looking for. And it may be that we have some for different cities or, areas or whatever. Local activities, like try to make it as specific as possible. I know we're talking about overall here, but I don't know.
No, that's a nice idea. I like that.
Well, I think that is a good idea, but I think that's more of something that you're going to do at an individual level because
And that's probably you're right.
That's going to be part of the kind of to-dos or tasks, in my opinion. Doug, you tell me if anyone else thinks I'm wrong, because you know what, that might be hitting someone too many times for some other people. Some other agents may not want to touch their folks that often. Some people may not be interested in the resources that you're providing. Your audience, so the people that will fit to. But I think these things are more about how are we making sure that we're staying in front of our leads to push them along the funnel in the pipeline and taking them from interest to initial conversation to pre-approval to looking at homes to under contract to getting the deed recorded and getting paid for working with them. I think at a minimum, you're reaching out to people once a quarter, everybody in your database at a minimum. If you're talking about, to me, a watch, I always tried to hit going back to the Boomtown vernacular, like Doug was talking about, I tried to hit every watch in my database at least once a quarter. And that's to make sure that,
What
are
did
they
that
still
look like,
interested
Brandon?
in, what's that?
What did that look like? A phone call, an email, or what?
Well, I try to make a phone call, because I think business is best done over phone unless people tell you specifically that they prefer to text or email. But, I think you're hitting people at a minimum of once a quarter. One, to stay in front of them and to be top of mind, but two, it's to make sure that you're providing some sort of value. Now, April, you can provide additional value, like what you're saying, by sending stuff on top of, the actual search, local vendors, local business spotlights, things. But I don't want to make sure I don't want to make sure I'm leaving in the dust what the actual heart of the matter is here. And that's, you told me you're interested in buying or selling a home. So has your search changed? Has your timeline changed? Is there anything you're looking for that I'm not sending to you? Do you like what I'm sending? Do I need to alter your search? Have you seen anything of interest in new construction? What kind of questions do you have? That's to me the main reason to make sure you're reaching out at least once a quarter.
And any of these things needs to be a combination of maybe an auto email or an auto text or something like that. But the reminders for calls is where you're really going to want to be able to personalize it to what's happening with them, like their specific area that they're looking at. So, when you're doing that follow up, that's a great time to say, hey, by the way, this is one of my favorite places. I think you guys will probably really enjoy this when you get here, kind of check it out, something like that. So kind of thinking of how we add that as part of the auto track for the reminders, that gives us kind of the flexibility to remember to do that, but also understanding at the same time, if that was built in, then you'd have to have so many versions of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're really just trying to make one universal list that everyone can use, right? And then as you identify people in your database that may want those additional things on top of what we're doing as a standard, there's nothing saying you can't make a to-do or a task for, hey, this person said they're interested in activities for kids, so I'm going to make a to-do for the first Friday of the month where I find one activity in the area that I can email them and say, hey, I know you're always on the lookout for things for your children. I found this. This might be something you want to look into. And then once you send that out, you can just recreate a new to do for the exact same thing a month from now.
I like that, even that idea, thinking that we tag people with certain things, like that will be part of this. Like, I don't know, maybe this is just more like on my end, I need to do that, but like tag them with kids, tag them with something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great way to identify people to reach out to with a touch, in addition to what we're doing here with this working the lead as you normally would.
April, I think that what I try to do is like make notes specifically about the phone call, like kid birthday or just had surgery or wants X school district or, waiting on, making a decision because of X time or whatever. So I think that it's good to leave some stuff to talk about down the road. Because if they're 6 months out, you don't need to get it all in the first conversation. So set your to-dos based on the previous conversation that you had. Has your budget changed? Like Brandon was saying, has your budget changed? I think that what you're talking about with those local things, like half these people have no freaking clue where they even want to land. So you're going to go around your asshole to try to send them stuff places that they may not even consider. So I think that, like
All right.
Brandon
I
said,
agree with Janine.
the closer that they get to landing on knowing exactly where they want to be, then be
That
like,
makes sense. That
okay,
makes sense.
you like to drink a beer? Let me take you to Salty Turtle after we see these houses, you know?
I agree with Janine, and I think the fear of sending too many emails, me personally, and y'all may differ, but it's worked for me, is I don't want to send you so much stuff where I'm inundating you that when I
Yep.
send you something that is critically important, your eyes just gloss over it. I mean,
You miss
like I get an email from Smathers and Branson. I bought a belt and a wallet there a couple months
Every
ago. I swear to
freaking day.
every day I get
unsubscribe.
every freaking day. And so, it's like I don't want to unsubscribe because if they send like a 75% off coupon, I'm going to buy
Yeah,
another
right?
belt. But
Fair.
I rarely you might see I did this on social media the other day. How much time a week do you spend unsubscribing from emails? I got a ton of answers on that, which is the whole reason I did it, to reset my algorithm with people. But I just don't I want them to pay attention to the stuff that really matters the most. And what matters the most is getting them in the dealership to look at something and getting them under contract.
Yep. So Doug, are we starting this drip with, we've already had the conversation, we've already put them in nurture. Okay, this is 1 month after the conversation hitting them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's whatever we want to make of it, to be honest with you. And it can be any of those things. You know, I think a reminder is a great way to start it out, right? And then
I don't think that the first to do needs to be like the next day. Or this
no,
or is
no,
this what we're
definitely not.
starting? We're starting this on our own, right?
Yeah. So you
Okay.
you talk to
Okay.
somebody, you determine that they're between 3 months and less than a year out or whatever.
Okay.
You're going to start this, but it's not going to send them anything immediately or prompt you to do anything immediately because you don't really need to do it.
Okay, so you set a to do that says, had a phone call, set it to do, 4 weeks, start nurture drip.
No, I think you start the drip when you know it's then, and the first reminder pops up in 2 weeks or 4 weeks.
Okay, say that one more time.
So the first step is like a call in 2 weeks.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
So you're going to apply this campaign immediately when you have the conversation, and it gives you, it's not just, it's reminders in addition to texts and emails and stuff.
Yeah, it can be.
Got
Can
it.
be.
Okay. Sorry, I've got contact trials in right now and I'm struggling, but I'm figuring it out.
No, no worries at all.
Like I would say, if we're building this out together, I think, roughly 2 weeks after you have that first
Yeah.
call, you
Yeah.
have a to do. And the to do is basically like, has this person reached out to you at all? If not, call them, confirm their timeline, their criteria, ask them what questions they have, ask them to meet for a consultation.
I think that's great. I would even add to that, have they even received or opened listings?
Yeah, e-alert functioning or whatever. I agree with that. I
Because
think
I've
it's
had so
crucial
many
on the
people.
front. I think it's crucial on the front to go ahead and ask for the consult, because I think too many agents wait and say, well, they told me they're not looking until the middle of 2025, so there's no point in meeting. People's timeline speeds up all the time. All they got to do is ride by one DR Horton community that meets their
Yep.
budget, and the next thing you know, they want to buy something. So go ahead and get in front of them and win them.
Yeah, I've got people that I met at an open house this summer that are moving, and I've been keeping in touch with her, and she's like, we're coming into town to see our friends over New Year's. We want to meet you, blah, blah. We want to see you again, even though they're not buying till probably like June, so make it not be about real estate. It doesn't have to be about real estate all the time. Just even if
So,
they're
for
giving
example,
yeah.
kind of going on what we're talking about here, the first step would be a reminder, and it's just a call to check in. And basically the note is heard from lead, been on site, time frame changed, ask for feedback and schedule a strategy session. And you see it's day 14. So this reminder will pop up on your to-dos for today, 14 days after you apply the auto track.
Okay, have a call, apply auto track, then it tells me what to do. Got it. Okay.
And we manually apply the auto track, correct? You're not going to universally set them to start.
Because it's going to be based on, now I could create a nurture label, and if you apply the nurture label, it auto starts. But honestly, I feel like that's probably more complicated than just going in and starting the drip on your
I think so too. And I think all nurtures are in different places.
Because not everybody's going to need it.
Yep. And all nurtures are in different places. If I have a nurture that's 2 months, they're not going to need this whole freaking thing. Then if a nurture's 5,
and that's the whole point of these other drips outside of the new people, because we don't know anything about the new people because we haven't talked to them. So all of that applies to them, right? Because it's about inundating them with information about what we do, about the process, about what they need to do to get ready, to try to prompt a response from the serious people, right? And then we talk more about their criteria, their time frame, etc. With these, we already have some sort of an idea of what they're looking for, what's going on, when they want to do it, if they have to sell, all that stuff. So this isn't really as much about sending them more information as it is, or at least sending them information, as it is us saying, hey, I've already made the effort and connected with these people. I want to make sure I don't let them fall through the cracks.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. And I'll tell you what, no matter how many times you touch in or try, you're not going to get them all. Even if you're calling every month, every week, people cheat on you. People go to builders. It's just the nature of the business.
Well, the data shows that it takes 7 contacts on average to win over and build a rapport with a lead. And so if you think you make that initial call the same day that they register on the website, and then you don't talk to them again for 6 months, you're never going to build a pipeline. You're just not going to close enough people. And that's the beauty of having a program like this that you can follow to make sure that you're staying top of mind and front and center with them.
Of course, that's outside of like SOI and referrals.
Yeah, but I mean, Janina, you've probably been through this before. I know Doug and I have. Just because your people know that you're a real estate agent, if you're not front of mind or top of mind with them, they will buy or sell without you.
Yep.
Not necessarily out of spite, but things happen.
Yep. Sister just got their license or whatever. Yeah.
Hey, we went to this open house and the agent said she could write it up right then. And, you look like you're busy all the time, or you were out of town, so I didn't want to bother you. I mean, that stuff happens.
Is that Ziggy?
Yes. I'll mute. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure I knew what was happening.
It's not a steady stream of flatulence. I hope you weren't thinking that.
Oh, it sounds like he's snoring.
Oh, he is. No, I was worried you thought I was here ripping it up on the couch.
So, I mean, this is the beauty of this. It can be as complicated or as uncomplicated as we want it to be, right? What's 28 plus 14? 42?
42.
So I'm just, as an example here, doing an every 2-week call reminder, right? And we can go in and edit it with more details, with more things that we want to make sure that we include, any of this stuff, right? It's really that simple. It can be just a reminder so you don't forget about these people. If we want to intersperse some other stuff in here, we can, but again, it doesn't have to be that complicated. If they reply, remember though, it's going to pause this. So if we include a text or email in this, it would pause it. So maybe not including that is a good thing. Then you can just pause it on your own if you get to the point where, okay, well, now I've moved them to hot or whatever. We're not looking for, I don't need to keep checking in with them because they're here and they're in the car and we're looking. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going to just go ahead and keep doing this for a few more turns. So we've got a couple months covered. How's that sound?
Awesome.
So basically just bi-weekly reminders, or sorry, bi-monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to. I would, if they're 6 months out, I'm not calling them every 2 weeks. They will get pissed off.
Every 2 weeks, I would definitely call somebody. Or just shoot them a text. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
a
that's
call.
what I mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Contact, yeah. Some form.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot, like Brandon said, a lot can happen in even a 2 week time frame. Maybe they are living out of town, but they come into town and they don't tell you, and they drove through DR Horton. Or maybe, you know, because you called, they told you they're coming into town. You know, something like that. You never know. So
I think some things that you can try to add in to not sound like as much of a salesman are like Janine says. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and he basically, like, he's totally transactional. He doesn't get to know them. He doesn't remember anything about them or their families. Take notes on like what their kids do, how old they are, what sports they play, what they're involved with. These are easy things to send a quick text or make a call to reach out to people so that you don't seem like you're just have commission breath. If they're telling you that they want to sell their house in a couple months, reach out to them and say, hey, you said you wanted to sell your place in Tampa. How's the market down there? Are things slow? Are things picking up? Does it seem pretty busy? These are easy ways to just have a conversation with people. If you like, I've got a guy in New York City, helping with investment in New York City. Yeah, he's a big Mets fan. So when the Mets made the playoffs, I made sure to text him. And when the Mets collapsed in the playoffs, I made sure to text him. Just make sure soak in as much knowledge as you can. And this is where the active listening is such a big part of real estate. If you're listening to the things that people are telling you that they like and they're involved with and they're interested in, you make notes like Janine is talking about. To me, the notes in the CRM are more important than the e-alert, right?
Yes.
You're going to send me a home if you really want to see it. And I'm going to be looking at stuff for you on the MLS,
yeah.
but I need the notes. I need the database of information, because if you tell me A, B, C, and D, and I see it enough times to remember it, I've got an endless amount of stuff that I can talk to you about, right? So if I see on the news that there's a big storm coming through Tampa, I will text my client, hey, I see the storm system is coming through. Are you guys okay? Is there anything I can do for, I'm making up examples, but you understand that the point that I'm making, right? I've got fans that are big Ohio State fans. I texted them before the Michigan game on Saturday. I did not text them after the Michigan game on Saturday. You will always have a reason, as long as you're listening to people and getting to know them and taking the notes, you'll always have a reason to reach out to them. And it will seem more sincere.
Yeah, 100%. It is so important that you are, and this is why when I prospect, I do it in front of my computer so I can be in the CRM and typing notes while I'm talking to them or writing notes down, and then I enter it after. Because when I follow up, I don't want it to just be a check-in. I want to remember why I'm calling them and what to reference from our previous conversation. I called a guy yesterday. I didn't get him. I left a message for him, but I called because my previous note said, follow up after Thanksgiving. He's having eye surgery. So my message was, hey, Bob, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving and that recovery from your eye surgery is going well. Give me a call when you get a chance. If I don't hear from you, I'll be back in touch soon. Something like that. So instead of just, hey, it's Doug with the Ocean Air Realty in North Carolina, I was calling about your home search. Call me back. You know, something like that. And the active listing thing is really a super huge thing. We have talked about that before, but to give evidence to people that you are actually, you know, seeking to understand what they're talking about and what's important to them versus just providing so much value that you're not providing any value because it's not about them, it's just about you.
And friend them on social media.
100%.
My
And
client,
an easy way to do that is make sure you save their phone number in your phone, and then they'll get suggested to you when you're in the app, or at least in Facebook, if you've got your contacts synced. All right. Any other thoughts? Now, one thing you can do is, you know, you can go in and edit these as well when they're set. So if you've got a future to do, you can go in and edit the future to do for what needs to happen, what's coming up.
Doug,
Or
I
you
think
can just add your own reference point for next time in your notes when you follow up with them. So you get the call reminder for 2 weeks or whatever, right? You call them, you have a conversation. Now you've got new information. You log that call, you entered that note. Make sure you reference the note when you get the next to do, right? So you know what to talk about this time.
that's a great point. I think maybe in the second or third call, it's worth asking if they need or making a recommendation for a lender or asking if they've spoken to one.
100%. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of that is going to be kind of where they are in the process when you have that phone call up front, right? Understanding where that is. And then, you know, that's why the notes are so important. Again, just to, you know, even if I don't have a conversation with somebody about something, I'll enter it as, okay, next time, this is what I'm going to talk about.
ask about X. Yeah.
Something like that. And any of those can apply basically to any of these, depending on how far out they are, what's going on. You know, a lot of people might be trying to sell first, so that has to happen before they can really start to focus. I'm sure we've all had somebody who's like, okay, well, I'm selling in New York. Once we get on the market here, we get under contract here, I'll come down and we'll start looking, or something like that. You know, I've got some folks who are planning to list in New York this month, so I'm waiting to hear how that goes. And I just talked to her last week. We haven't listed yet, but we're planning to this month. So my follow up for January, right after the New Year's, is, hey, did you guys get on the market? How's it going there? You know, are you ready to come down here and start looking at stuff? And that's why, again, and I can't stress this enough, this whole nurture thing is more of a reminder for us not to let the relationships that we've already started building fall through. Because I think that's what happens a lot in this business. And we all know how much of a struggle it is to make that initial contact and to begin to build the relationship. But then we get busy continuing trying to do that, or actually working with clients in person, that we forget to follow up on these relationships that we've already established. And then that business just goes out the window
Yep.
because they haven't heard from you. Somebody else gets in touch,
Guilty.
call a sign, et cetera. Yeah, it's happened to all of us. So I'll leave this at this for now. And then that's really it. Not going to do a trigger. And now it's there for you guys.
Thanks.
And it really wasn't that complicated. But that's why we have conversations like this as a group, to make sure it doesn't really need to be complicated. Now, if you guys sidebar or on your own have some great ideas for some things to interject into this, send it to me and I'll figure out how to incorporate it.
I
So
see
we've got
two,
more
Doug.
information.
One's private, one's public. What's the difference?
Where are you? I thought I just made that.
Next to the little lock.
This is the, I think I saved this one earlier when I first started. And I just need to delete this one. There you go. Also, as a reminder, I built this bad phone number auto track. If you call somebody and it's a bad phone number, apply that as well with the other one. It's just basically hitting them every day with an email to try and get them to respond with a correct phone number. And it can run concurrently with the regular new auto track.
Good God, it sounds like that thing's about to land on my house. Can y'all hear that?
And another thing for you guys, if you want to try for folks that maybe older leads that you haven't gotten a response for, that maybe was on the site before or just never responded, there's a buyer and seller auto track that has no reminders in it. So since they're old leads, it's not making you call them every day, but it is hitting them with that text and email every day like they're a new registrant. It might wake somebody up. It might not. This is the thing, especially from some of you Coast people that I've transferred leads to, Mark, that they had replied to something like that, which is why I'd transferred them over.
It's useful.
Any other thoughts on this?
When we make them, are they also there for everyone to see? I mean, because that would be great if we all could use each other's. I don't know, each one's a little different flavor, I guess.
If you decide to build your own, you can select if it's there for the team.
Okay.
And that's kind of what April was referencing when she asked about
that
one
lock
set or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I did some templates, but I don't remember it asking if make those available or not. But I haven't done any like auto track yet. So
okay. And I think the email templates you can make shared as well. Any other thoughts or things about auto tracks you guys wanted to talk about? So I think maybe changing course a little bit. Maybe next week, let's talk about and come with some ideas for an auto track to people who don't respond to the initial one when they register. Kind of like the old archive that we had in place. So maybe think of something like that. And we can have it auto set to once that one ends, the next one starts. And maybe it's a touch instead of daily, a touch a week for 2 months or something like that to continue to kind of draw them out. Because you'll get some people that have registered that are, a little bit further out, so they don't want to reply right away. But we've also all had a lead who's been on the website for probably 6+ months and never responded, and then all of a sudden
Mm.
they're awake, right? So just a little bit of a supplement to the e-alerts. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this for now because I want to touch on just a few other things.